Skywings, your typical run-of-the-mill Western dragon. For some reason, this row has caused me the most trouble so far, but I'll get to that when I start the speed paint. For this row, I wanted to give them a theme. Not exactly a theme that would bring them all together, but a theme that would give me inspiration as to what to base them off of. My first idea was birds, and it was also the first idea that I discarded as quickly as I came up with it. Not that there's anything wrong with basing a dragon design off of birds, it's just that it's already been done quite a few times and I'd like to try something different. My second idea was gemstones, but when I thought about it I became a little hesitant because when you really boil it down, they're just shiny, single-colored rocks. Maybe they have two colors if they're feeling silly, but I'm not exactly looking for color palettes. And then I became stumped on these two ideas, as I couldn't really think of any other Skywing adjacent themes. Just as I was about to accept going crystal gems up in this bitch, my next idea hit me like a truck. I guess the only thing that is worthy to note is that I almost named this guy Lightning McQueen. I could theme them off of cars. Yes, cars. The second most important thing to all dragon lovers everywhere. Why didn't I think of this theme earlier? I mean, it makes sense, right? Cars are fast, brightly colored sometimes, and flammable and dangerous. Perfect Skywing theme material. But what does it mean that I'm theming them off of cars? Honestly, I wish I could say. Best case scenario, I find an interesting car on Pinterest and one, hope it's not AI, and two, kind of base the Skywing's face shape and colors off of it. Before I continue, I want to preface this by saying I don't know anything about cars. I only mostly know how to drive one and that's it. The cars I find are purely chosen for the aesthetic and for inspiration. I don't know anything about the brands or who made them and whatnot. I just want to base some silly dragons off of them and that's all. I'm also just going to be using cars with weird and wacky designs, so you won't be seeing me using a typical Toyota Corolla as inspiration. Anyways, on with the footage. Okie dokie, so for at least the line art stages of this speed paint, I will be displaying the car that I'm basing the hybrid off of in the corner. I didn't have much of a method as to what about the car went into the design of the dragon. Really, it was whatever stood out to me about the car the most. The Sandwing, for example, was mostly inspired by the clutter that surrounds this particular car, rather than the boxy shape of it. I originally thought this Sandwing could be like a hoarder or someone who adorns themselves with shiny scraps they find, but it turned out to be an absolute diva. I mean, not in this speed paint. I probably should have warned you at the start that I redrew this guy, but they get better, I promise. But speaking of redrawing, that happened quite a few times. 3, to be exact. The Sandwing, Rainwing, and Silkwing all got redrawn for different reasons, which I'll cover when they appear on screen. I picked this car for the Mudwing because it was box-shaped. That's it. I think I could have done better at actually giving it a face shape that looked like the car itself, but it's fine. I gave them a horn on their chin as well as one in the corner of their jaw to mimic the 3 wheels that the car had. They also had an outline around their eye to mimic the door of the car, which will be darkened when I color it. The car I picked for the Sea-Wing speaks for itself. The main things that influenced its design was its smoother and rounder face, the colors I eventually gave it, and of course, the sunglasses. The horns were also supposed to be shaped in a way to look mildly like tail fins. Its spine spikes were much rounder and wider to mimic dorsal fins, and blunt spikes are in place of where their little Sea-Wing beards would be. So, just so you viewers can really take in the full force that comes with this next car, I'm going to have it fade in slowly. I will say, I think I based the ice wing off of what's on top of the car rather than the car itself, but how could I not? Anyways, the Icewing was supposed to be smooth and sleek, which made for a somewhat basic face, but I wouldn't say that's a bad thing for this guy. I gave them a double row of spikes along their spine as well as a fancy little bow tie. Like I said earlier, this Rainwing got redrawn later on, so don't get too attached to this design. They ended up looking a little too much like a Rainwing and not enough like a Skywing. I tried giving it some spines along their jawline that were supposed to look like a frill-less frill, but it just looked like a Rainwing with no frill at the end. Oh yeah, and I chose a P-looking car for the Rainwing. It contributed to its roundness, which kind of worked against me when I was trying to make it look like a Skywing. I was getting very close to redrawing the Nightwing hybrid because, like the Rainwing, it also looked like its secondary tribe more than a Skywing. Ultimately, I didn't redraw it just because I generally liked how it looked, and I also already redrew 3. As for the car, it mostly influenced the old-timey glasses and dual jaw horns. I tried to shape the eyebrows in a way to look like the curved rim that goes over the wheels of the car, but I don't know if that transferred very well. I'd like to add that most of these hybrids ended up having accessories. Out of all the tribes, I think the Skywings were fitting for it because they seem to be somewhat of a greedy tribe, or at least a tribe who likes to adorn themselves in shiny or interesting objects. The Hivewing hybrid was a fun one because of their many triangle-shaped spikes. I like the face shape I gave them too, but it felt a little too blunt for a Skywing hybrid. Perhaps I can make the excuse that it's the Hivewing in them, but I don't think Hivewings are very blunt either. I also gave this one stripes, a trait I was reserving for the Hivewing row, but I gave in this time because of how the car was shaped. So, the Silkwing was based on this strange propeller car that I stumbled across. I tried to shape the horns to look like they were propellers by slightly twisting them at the end, but that can only be seen with the little lines I made in the horns. They have various facial spikes that were based on the fins of the car. The eyebrows were based on the ridge above the wheel as well, which jet out at the ends like they were trying to become Silkwing antenna, but just never got there. I mainly redrew this one because it had a similar pose and pattern to the Mud and Silk hybrid above. I think I honestly would have been fine with it if it were placed literally anywhere else, not adjacent to this Silk Mud guy, but it's whatever. The repetition looked awkward, so there's no shame in fixing it. Okay, so I know this one isn't a car, but it's still a contraption with wheels that supposedly makes the user go faster than usual. So yeah, I picked this car because it was flat and reminded me of a leaf. I tried to mimic the flatness in the snout of the Leafwing as well as their horns, but their horns are already pretty flat, so that's nothing new. I gave this hybrid a scar over one eye because the contraption only has one headlight. Thankfully, I redrew the Sandwing hybrid before I got to coloring, which made it significantly easier on me. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same for the Rainwing or Silkwing. Those rat bastards. I can't think of much to say about this redraw, but my goal was to make them prettier. And oh my gosh, I know I said that I'd make these free adopts in various comments, but you're going to have to convince me if you want this, dude. Not because they cost me more trouble than I asked for, but because they turned out looking fabulous. Speaking of adopts, I wanted to mention that I'll be giving these guys away once I complete the grid. I was planning on saving this as an announcement for the final video in the series, but I thought it would be better to let you know early on, just so you can know early on. I'm still working out the technicalities of where I'll give them away and how, so I'll give you some updates about that through future videos or community posts. I do know right now, though, that I'm leaning towards using Discord as the place where I'll give them away, as it just seems easier for managing people. As for how, I'm considering either a first-come, first-served system or a raffle, but that depends on how many people are interested in these designs. I'll release a poll one of these days just so I can figure out how many people are actually interested in these designs, so keep an eye out for that. I took a while to talk about coloring on purpose, by the way, just because it was a difficult and harrowing task. Some of them were easier than others, but most of them were a challenge, but I guess that's to be expected from a challenge. The palettes I chose heavily relied on red, orange, and yellow colors to tie them back to their Skywing heritage. It really screwed with my head though because the colors were somewhat hard to work with and made the row less colorfully diverse compared to the others. Individually, I think they're alright, but grouped together, it's just too much red. The Rainwing was especially difficult to pick colors for because all the colors I wanted to pick for them were more Rainwing than Skywing, and why must it be so difficult to want a pinkish red rain sky hybrid? Like I said, the Rainwings are a wild card. Literally, they could look like anything, they could have all the colors. Like I said at the beginning, the Skywings have given me the most difficulty so far, and it's only the third row. I thought this could be due to how, out of all the tribes, they're the only ones who don't have any recognizable facial traits besides their narrow snouts. I considered that the lack of facial traits could be what made them recognizable, but I'm not very attached to this idea. I'd like to get a second opinion on this, so if you have any insight or want to discuss this in the comments, then please feel free. The Rainwing was redrawn for a similar reason as the Silkwing. It had some of the same pose and facial expressions as the Rainwing hybrid above it. With this new drawing, I opted to give it long jaw spikes to replace the frillless frill, and a broken horn for the heck of it. I also replaced the neon yellow color for a warmer, slightly pale yellow. I also accidentally drew it with a different line width than the rest of them, but it's fine. Finally, the Silkwing hybrid was drawn with a different pose and pattern to make it more different from the hybrid above it. Looking back, I kind of wish I gave it more of a similar face shape to the original drawing, just because I like the narrowness of it. I kept its propeller-looking horns and facial spikes though. And after that treacherous journey, here are the final results. Despite it being challenging, I do like how all of these guys turned out in the end. I'm kind of exaggerating my disdain towards drawing these guys, when really they just had a little bit more problems than the other rows. As per usual, I'd love to hear what you have to say about these guys. Thoughts, feelings, and feedback are all welcome in the comments below. So, with all that over with, I'll be making my way to the water. So I guess I'll see ya there. See ya. Haha, I don't have a blooper this time, so I'm just gonna go speaking off script, and you'll be able to tell that I'm speaking off script because I'll stutter a lot and not know what to say, and repeat myself, and not know what to say. Maybe I can hypnotize you or something. No, like the video, subscribe, like the video, subscribe. Ooh, is the thing lighting up? Is the thing lighting up? Is it going outlined in rainbowy? Oh my gosh, I have never done this before. Wow. Thank you, bye. Nailed it.